Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Women in Sectional Title webinar. It's great to have you all here today. So August has been a busy and very productive month for Women's Month. On the 4th of August, we were all invited to the community scheme Ombud service in Durban in 4 ways, which was a fantastic event. And it was really heartening to see that the CEO or the acting CEO of the PPRA, together with the chief ombud or acting chief ombud, were also women, powerful ladies in a sectional title space. So on the 11th of August, we also went to the National Association of Managing Agents brunch that was held at the offices of Alan Gray. And the theme was where there is magic, there are women. And I think that is so, so true. It was also lovely to sit together with everybody. It was lovely to talk about sectional title and issues that relate to us. And it was also great to see that there were many women from this platform who come onto this platform at the function. So I think this movement is just growing bigger and bigger, and we appreciate your support. And of course, we appreciate the support of our sponsors, Zfin, We Connect You, Sectional Title Solutions, PKF Octagon, and CIA. They really come to the party and they understand the important role that women play in our industry today. So thank you again, guys. We really appreciate you. So today I'm excited to chat to a lady. I met the lady at another conference, actually, the Residential Investment and Development Conference at the Sandton Convention Centre, also in August. And I thought you have to listen to this lady speak because she knows what she's talking about. I'm talking about Lorraine Jenks. So Lorraine is the owner of Hotel Stuff and Green Stuff. She was also the procurement and contracts manager for 82 hotels in the Southern Suns chain. She's a green guru. She's been talking about greening trends for the last 50 years and is a multiple award winner on climate change and lifestyle sustainability topics. So very warm welcome to you, Lorraine. You'd like to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Marina. It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
It's a great pleasure to have you. Thank you. And Lorraine, so we're talking about now the residential space and small, sort of everybody's living in smaller units in close proximity in what really are shared spaces. So I'd like your thoughts on what ought we be doing in the sectional title industry to promote an awareness of the greening trends. And I mean, why is it so important?
Can you hear these jets?
Yes.
I mean,
the
blue light, I live on Oxford Road. You can imagine I've had blue light brigades every day. I don't know where the delegates are staying to have to come up this road to the convention centre, and these jets flying over my flat.
And it's always on the day that you're on a webinar. Suddenly the whole world becomes noisy. I know, but we can hear you fine.
Well, at least we're the safest place on the planet at the moment with all these heads of state, right? 3 blocks from my flat. Yeah, you know, it's we have to have more community spirit. The trouble is everything's being focused on carbon, energy, and then water, and then recycling. And when I speak on climate change, people often say, "Oh, I make a point of recycling my plastic." It is about so much more than that. So what we need to do is start thinking like communities, stop waiting for any politicians, definitely any industrialists to look after us. We have to look after ourselves. And that will only come with actually understanding what we need to do. So it's about climate change overall, obviously. That is our biggest threat by far. But immediately, I am far more worried about what we call ecocide. Eco means life and side means death. And we are just killing off the planet. The planet that's designed to support us and feed us and nurture us. We're killing off our home and our sustenance. And there's not nearly enough focus on that. In something like sectional title, we can go through a little more detail a bit later on. But what we need to do is step back, look at the whole project from the entrance gate, from the boom, right through to going through everybody and driving out the other side.
Yeah,
and consider everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Lorraine, the thing is, we all know we have to reduce our carbon print. We all know that we need to become more green, go green. But at the end of the day, people get sort of mixed messages. It's quite complicated. It can be confusing. And some people will just say, well, they don't do anything because they're not too sure what to do. But what I'd like to do is I'm going to take you through a story that I created, which people will be able to relate to. I'm all for practicalities instead of talking about things too much on a higher level. So if you'll bear with me, if I can just take you through the story and then we go through it together, if that's okay.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, so let's start. So Thabo and Lindiwe live in a 2-bedroom apartment in a complex called Villa Sorrento in Roodepoort. Due to the ongoing energy crisis, a generator has been installed in the complex and is utilized every time there is a power outage. For security purposes, all the visitors have to sign in by completing a visitor's book. The residents enter by remote control. Because Thabo and Lindiwe are both full-time employees, Thabo being a lawyer and Lindiwe a managing agent, they get home late every night and are too exhausted to cook. They pick up a takeaway from McDonald's or Simply Asia or grab a prepackaged ready-to-go meal from Woolies at the engine garage down the road from where they live. They dispose of all their refuse in a single black bin in their kitchen, which is collected by Pick It Up every Friday morning. They have a small garden with an astroturf, a few ceramic pot plants and trees, and a splash swimming pool, which they ensure is cleaned every week so that it's sparkly clear blue. Their kitchen utensils are mostly all stainless steel, so they can put it in the dishwasher, and their kitchen appliances all work off electricity: the toaster, the stove, the oven, the kettle, the microwave. They also have a washing machine, tumble dryer, dishwasher, and iron that all work off electricity. Their kitchen table and chairs are made from Perspex. They find it so convenient because it's easy to clean. They've got wooden floors in their living area, carpets in the bedrooms, and tiles in the bathroom and kitchen. The blankets on the bed are woolen, and in the winter they use electric hot water bottles to keep them warm. They buy their linen bedding from Mr. Price Home and have no idea what material it's made from. They bought their bedroom suite from At Home, which is made from wood, as well as the 2 side tables. The bedroom suite in the second bedroom is covered in a very pretty floral design, but they're not sure about the fabric. In their living area, they have leather couches and a fluffy sofa. And finally, they use conventional globes throughout their apartment for lighting. Okay, so we've given you a nice little picture there, and maybe you'd like to take us through each point and see where you can suggest the changes and tell us maybe how your websites can actually help us here.
Yeah, what happened when I left Southern Sun, I was in the development department, and we built the convention center, Monte Casino, Palazzo Hotel, the Intercontinental Hotel, and I was responsible for all the operating equipment, all the contracts that a hotel uses. So a hotel pretty much uses everything a home uses or an office uses or anybody uses anyway. So I made it my mission to find a greener version of everything in my purchasing manual of preferred suppliers for all these hotels. And I had been living in California in my hippie days. 1969 to 1974. Oh, it's amazing. I worked for Deloitte. I'm going to tell you a secret. I worked for Deloitte, and the partners were stoned every morning because marijuana wasn't illegal. So I tell you, those boring old accountants were not boring. They said like for so I came home with all this knowledge, and I made it my personal, in my private capacity, to go through my purchasing manual to every single product and find the greenest, nothing is 100% green, version of everything I possibly could. And if there was none, I would try and help the manufacturer find a greener way of doing it. So I've scribbled down some notes. I'm going to go through your story, but I'm going to elaborate on some of it. So I live in a block here in Oxford Road. I think it's the nicest block of flats here in Illovo. It's Emerald Woods, beautiful, one of the old ones. It looks a bit like Lake Como with the balustrades we've got on our balcony, and it's beautifully built because it's so old, parquet flooring. And we've just yesterday installed solar. It was a mission, let me tell you, and I'm on the 4th floor with two new hips, so I hate these damn stairs when my lift breaks. But the trouble is the solar is not enough for the lifts, but at least we've got lights in all the public areas at night. Generators are obviously terrible. They make such a noise. I mean, imagine the people that live near Thrups up the road. Sounds like a tank in the army. It's just awful. So the different options, I think we've got a special deal because we've got 28 flats. The challenge with a block of flats is, for example, the Vineyard Hotel. We installed solar, easy peasy, quickly, a couple of days it was up. But it's one electricity account for the hotel. Where here we've got 28 separate accounts for each flat. So to give it to each flat is a hell of a mission. So we've just done it for the whole complex. But have a look at it. And if you want to be our guys, our trustees really put a lot of work into researching it. And one of them is the architect who actually built this building a long time ago. And I can give you some pointers. Yeah, listen. I tell you, it's very interesting. The other thing is, a lot of the training I do is about supply chain management because people don't realize how incredible power they've got to force change, to actually demand change. So you need to understand the life cycle of everything you ever buy, ever. Before you buy it, you stand back and you ask yourself, where did they get the raw materials? How far did it travel? What happened while it was being manufactured? Did they use child labor? Did they pollute while they were manufacturing? Did they break laws? Did they? How far was it transported to be sold? How was it packaged? When it gets used, does it carry on polluting? Does it cause allergies? And then most important, every single thing, how do you get rid of it? To me, that's just the worst. And when I have to speak to a group of, often, I was in front of 1,000 people the other day, and I looked at that audience and I thought, you know, I think they were buyers from the municipalities. I thought most of these people probably haven't done science and geography. They probably don't even know what the atmosphere is if we talk about climate change. So I said, pretend you're holding the hand of a little child and you need to describe to him anything that you're buying for your home or your office or whatever. You have to describe where it comes from, how it was made, and then how you get rid of it. And it's bloody hard. Let me tell you, the little kid's going to say, goodness me, Dad, and you bought it anyway. So that's a very important workshop that I run. And what's happening now, before we really get into this, so you can understand where I'm coming from, I'm trained by Al Gore and by the United Nations on green labeling. I used to talk all this big stuff. I used to give workshops and training and all this. What's happened now with this new ESG, environment, social governance, are reports that have to be produced by top executives, top decision makers, and they have got no idea. Because by the very nature, the fact that they are so senior is because they think profit, profit, profit. They think money. And most of them don't even understand the very basic fundamental principles of why it has to be done. So a lot of my training is there now and going through all, like you said, people are overwhelmed. All the phrases, sustainability, going green, circularity, regeneration. There's about a dozen phrases that are used. They all really pretty much mean the same thing. But then I go through with them and just give a little summary of the exact meaning. And then I have a full-blown workshop on ESG. So let's go to McDonald's. My goodness, fast food. What my daughter does, I asked her what she does. She's a photographer and works terrible hours. She says she buys ready-made frozen foods. And she said people they call it by word of mouth are absolutely fantastic. The other crowd are called Salt. There's another crowd called Knife. And she said, just Google. She said, lots of these people deliver anywhere. And every city's got people doing freshly made and freshly frozen foods. So much better than McDonald's. McDonald's is too much salt. There's even things like sugar added to get the appropriate taste buds going. And they're very clever because those flavors make you crave more of the same thing again. That's all very scientifically designed. The refuse, very interesting. After we built the convention center, this is now the year 2000. There was no such thing. There were no recycled bins. Nobody knew what I was talking about. I was recycling paper, the only person, and Mondi used to pick it up from my office. And I thought, I'm going to install a recycling service in the Sandton Convention Center and all the hotels in Sandton. in my spare time with a young kid that walked into my office one day without work, and he said, "Let me do it for you. I've got a bucky." Very clever. He was decades ahead of the thinking. He said, "All we do is divide it into wet and dry." There was no time for us to do training. So keep the dry as uncontaminated as you possibly can. Tell everybody in your block to understand what you're doing, and wet goes straight to landfill. The dry, somebody will pick it up. You'll find somebody that'll pick up that bin of stuff, and they will sort it, sell it, and they'll make a nice little packet of pocket money when they resell the dry materials. It really worked extremely well. That's why I left her.
Lorraine, can I interrupt you? I just want to ask a question. So, you know, in our road, for example, we've got the recyclers that come through to collect things, but very often I worry that people are not putting the right things into these recycling bins. You know, they just put everything. And I often thought it would be a good idea for somebody to make a video to show people what it is that these recyclers actually want and what is most valuable to them. You know, I know the paper, they seem to like the paper, but do they use a pizza box, for example? You know, these are the things that everybody's still uneducated. Yeah.
It's contaminated. The bin has got oil on it, it's contaminated. So you keep it as dry and as clean as you possibly can. You know, I was invited to COP26 in Scotland. I mean, these people who really understand what's going on. They had these recycle bins. People threw everything into every bin because the bins had labels on them. That doesn't work. You've got to have great big pictures of paper, pictures of plastic bottles, pictures of metal tins. Then people will actually stop and think. I mean, the pickers are doing an absolutely incredible job, and we really should make it so much easier for them. One of the first things we should do is honor their humanity, for God's sake. Give them labels with their names on. Give them a cap with a name on, you know. Give them a reflective jacket, and give them trolleys with pram wheels. Those little supermarket wheels are horrible. We found this in housekeeping in the hotel business on rough terrain in the lodges. They couldn't pull those stupid little trolleys, so we gave them proper big. That's a campaign for someday in the future.
Lorraine, also, while we're on this, sorry, I just want to mention, because for sectional title complexes, if there are any managing agents, we always have lots of managing agents out there, and these are also recorded, so we, you know, a lot of people watch them afterwards. Please, if you could tell your complexes to actually separate their stuff inside the complex, so that when these recyclers come, they're not, you know, throwing everything out onto the pavement in front of your complex and rifling through. I mean, it's a humanity issue. There's no dignity in somebody rifling through a dustbin. At least separate the stuff inside. I've got a complex opposite my office here, which drives me nuts. First of all, it's, you know, your asset value is diminishing if you see rubbish outside being thrown outside, you know, from all these dustbins on your pavement. Get the bins, and I think if you can encourage your trustees to also start with this mindset, it would be valuable. Do you agree, Lorraine?
I agree, but the trouble is we don't do our waste. Our domestic helpers do, so they're the ones got to be trained. And most South Africans don't want 5 bins in their kitchen. That's why I'm suggesting wet and dry. Keep the dry really dry, and then have your dry skip downstairs. Then pay somebody or ask your staff to go through the dry waste, and then for the pickers, divide it into metal, plastic, paper, and the rest of it, and make it easy for them. Plastic, as I always say, is a complete and total waste of time. They are insulting our intelligence by making it our problem. It should be their problem. And finally, there's an international movement. It's a bit slow. Will make it law that the manufacturer is responsible for the waste product that he produces. Like Coca-Cola will have to start doing something with their plastic bottles, because it's never. And if you really drill down in websites or the recycling depots, drill down to see who runs them really, really. It's people like Coca-Cola to make things look as though they're working. And sometimes when they did that return, that experiment with you got a deposit for your bottle. It was such a success that they were losing sales of virgin plastic bottles. They stopped the whole recycling program. So their hearts are not in it. It's all just window dressing. So we have to, if they can fly someone to the moon, for God's sake, they can invent a new plastic. Hemp can be anything that's plastic can be made out of hemp plastic. So that's the refuse. The astroturf's not green, but if you use it, of course you are saving on water, pesticides, fertilizers, electricity of mowing machines. You are saving all those things. So when you look at a product, same with carpets. In the big convention centers, we use those modular carpet tiles. They're not green at all. But the factory that manufactures them, it's Milliken is the biggest international producer. The factory is incredibly green. The product not so much, but we will accept it because you have to look at the whole life cycle of the product. It lasts a very long time, and you can move them around. If you've got a heavy traffic area, you can swap them around and move the ones that aren't so worn and swap them with the ones that are getting very worn. And the same with AstroTurf. It does save on some of the pollutants, but it itself certainly isn't green. The kitchen gas, they've just discovered how dangerous gas is, which we actually didn't realize. I've got a gas hob, and we don't realize that a little bit of gas, no matter what, is escaping all the time, and it is so bad for us. You know, they've just done some serious measurements which actually haven't been done before. It is definitely greener, obviously, than electricity, but it's not the solution. Have a look at an induction cooker when you go. I mean, they are incredible. That only heats up the pot, doesn't heat up the whole plate. The heat only goes into the pot. And then, you know, think often when people say to me, like when I'm looking for a green bed, I cannot find a green bed in South Africa. It's the only thing for a home or a hotel that I cannot find in South Africa. Hastings is the only one that's imported from Sweden. All our beds have got foam in, which off gases, chemicals. So I always say to them, think of what your granny would. What did my granny use? We had koya and horsehair, and they were fantastic. We just used to shake them up every so often. And the same thing with your kitchen. Think of things that the old folks did. Like I get my rice up to the boil, then I switch it right off and I put a blanket over it and I go and watch TV. And I just leave it there with a blanket. I come back and it's all puffed up and cooked just with a blanket. You don't need fancy wonder bags and all those things. Then what was Perspex? I had to really double research that. My son was a doctor of physics. He died in April. For those of you with children, he was what they call an autistic genius. So if you want to know about autism, we've done an enormous study into it. Get in touch with me personally and let's have a talk. There was nothing wrong with him, nothing wrong at all. Something just hit him sideways in April. He was too clever. The neurologist said he was very, very clever. So I haven't got him anymore. I used to just say, hey, Richard, just tell me what's the difference between acrylic and Perspex and plastic and vinyl and all this. So Perspex is actually, I didn't know it, I just had to check. It is actually acrylic and it's not green. Of course it's not green, but it's long-lasting, very durable, far more recyclable. A lot of the plastics are actually recyclable once or twice, and then they are so degraded, you cannot recycle them another time. And obviously easy to clean. It wouldn't be my first choice for furniture, but it's not a terrible sin to have Perspex furniture that she's got. And the floor, I spoke about the carpets. Obviously, you should be going for wool or cotton or antique. Of course, anything antique is considered green. I've got some old, I love them to death, old Persian carpets. Very, very eco-friendly. And of course, they are natural products. They're cotton and they're silk. And the trouble, polyester is okay. And then the big carpet companies will tell you they're easy to wash. And they'll take them back. They can't do anything with them when they take them back. They're going to end up in landfill. I don't care what they say. And when you clean, that fascinated me because somebody came to me with dry powder for cleaning the hotel corridors, you can just imagine. And we had Van Dyke carpets in the corridors. And then I did an experiment at the Sunnyside Hotel in one of its huge meeting rooms. And we divided the room in half. We did half with steam cleaning and half with dry powder cleaning. The steam cleaning looked, because optically it was slightly damp. It looked wonderful. All the colors were bright. The powder side looked a little bit dull. Within days, the stains started coming up again in the side that had been steam cleaned. The powder, every time you vacuum that carpet, carries on cleaning. It whips it up again and it carries on cleaning. So the powder cleaning in the big hotels, the secret is to spot clean. Every day, someone's run around, just sprinkle a bit of powder and spot clean, and then every so often you do a big powder clean. So look in your supermarket for dry powder cleaning, and try and find Milliken if you can, because they are super eco-friendly, all their products. And lino, of course, is very green because it's cork and it's rubber. I don't think there are enough rubber trees in the world if we had to replace all these things with rubber. But still, it's very eco-friendly.
Is that a linoleum?
Linoleum, yeah. They are old-fashioned linoleum, and it's quite tough, you know. I mean, there's still kitchens with ancient linoleum in them. And then what I did, one of my projects, what I do at the big trade shows, we've just done one at the hotel show. We want to do another one at Decorex. I get a donation, I book 100 square meters, turn it into 5 rooms, and ask everybody from our green stuff directory to furnish it for me like a house or like a hotel. And in one of them, I just made different areas with different flooring. So we had rubber flooring, we had cork flooring, we had FSC certified, Forest Stewardship Council certified wood. I really can't stand this, what they call it when they've got a veneer that makes a noise when you walk. Sounds like plastic when you're walking on it. I think it's awful. Acquia. So we had about 6 different types of flooring that were considered eco-friendly. And I look here in Ilova at our beautiful parquet flooring. And then when I look out over all these flats, because I'm quite high, I just think of all the teak trees that were chopped down for my beautiful floors, you know. So there's lots of second-hand parquet. People don't think of that because people move in, they lift the parquet and they replace with tiles. There are people keeping those parquet blocks. So go and have a look for them. Then we said that was the floors. Then she said her wool blankets. Where did she find wool blankets? Can't find them anymore. Aranda used to have them. Everything's a poly wool mix now. And that's, you can't do nothing. I keep saying, they say, oh yeah, but it's partly wool. And one of the people is filling their pillows with what they call it, hollow fiber, mixed with kapok. Remember kapok? My granny used to use it. Oh yeah, but it's got, I said, it's like making a great big stew and then putting 6 lettuce leaves on the top and calling it vegetarian. I said, you can't do it. How are you going to separate those contents to recycle? Linen is a big challenge for us. Bed linen, cotton is not green. It's natural, but it is not green. It uses enormous amounts of water and pesticides and chemicals. So look for organic cotton. I'm talking about your sheets now, your bed linen. Yeah. Look for flax. If you can afford flax, buy it. It is amazing. You can even find flax linen in antique shops in Italy. It lasts for generations, but it's very expensive. I've just been given a set now as a thank you present for one of my projects, 3,000 Rand for my bed. But it's going to last for my children and my grandchildren. And it's beautiful. Look at hemp. Hemp's not nice when you start, but the more you wash it, the softer and the silkier that it gets. Silk's okay. It doesn't stand up to industrial laundering, but it's fine for at home. And you know, the trouble is polyester is easy to wash and easy to iron, and that's the excuse that the hotels have. And I have to understand that, because if they're saving electricity and water in their laundromats, perhaps that's a benefit. But I would still, I don't understand why everything's got to be snowy white. Why can't it be ecru and slightly off color, and not have to be bleached pure white? I think that might change. The same with towels. Then her lounge suite, leather. Leather is natural, obviously, but oh my goodness, they use heavy, horrible chemicals to tan it. Look for eco leather. You can find it. I believe a lot of the leather from Namibia is eco leather. I've got a big old armchair, a wingback chair out of eco leather, so you can find it. And then when you do buy, challenge the retailer, challenge the manufacturer, and say, have you looked at using less damaging chemicals in your processing? The globes, that's an interesting one. They're using incandescent. My son worked at Exclusive Books for many years to get his doctorate, and they put in LED, and they had to take them out because it's actually quite hard to read. I think it's improving now. It's quite hard to read because the what they call the luminescence is different with LED than incandescent lighting. But move to LED if you can. You save so much money. They reduced their bills by up to 80% in some of the hotels when they went to LED. Then last of all, what I'm going to add here for people working in sectional title, which we do in tourism and in hospitality, I have a whole series of lectures on adapt or die. We have got to adapt. South Africa is not causing climate change. Africa is not causing it, but we are going to suffer up to 4 times more. We're getting the heat up to 4 times more than some other countries. We have to be ready. So all the trustees and the residents actually stand back, have a look at the city you're in. How ready is your city for floods, for superstorms, for incredible winds, for fire? Things like sewage bubbling up in your toilet. Is that going to happen if you have very heavy rain? I was in Cape Town during that monster storm that they had, and we had people coming off the street, and we had to put them up. We had to give them blankets and supper and water to drink. You could not walk. There was no way. You couldn't drive. Airplanes couldn't take off. We were stuck in our hotel for 2 days and one very, very long night. Then look at your property. How is it properly insulated against the heat that's coming? We're not ready for that. Have reflective stuff on your windows. And what our grannies used to do is they had heavy curtains that they closed. Keep the curtains closed to keep the heat out. I remember an aunt of mine doing that in Victoria. I used to hate it because the house was so dark, but she kept the heat out. So our problem is going to be heat, not so much cold. And then if you look at the old properties like mine, they've got the windows at the top of the doors. That's not there for pretty or anything. That was actually there to suck out the heat in the old days. Suck out the heat, goes up, and then suck it out through the, what they call them, I can't remember what they're called. So little things like that. Have a look at all of that. We're going to long term. I'm going long term now. Have to look at our food and beverage because maize and corn are not going to survive climate change. In Africa, the chefs are actually waking up. Fine food is going out of favor. Actually, most tourists don't really want fine food anymore. And the chefs are realizing they've got to start cooking and ordering millet and sorghum and the sort of crops that are going to survive. Always speak to the old folks. Before you build a new complex, or my mom used to do that, or she was a landscape gardener, find the oldest person in that area. She built a house on the river at Henley Cliff. She found this old guy and she said to him, "Where have you seen the water come here?" And he said, "Oh, miss, die water, hy kom tot hier." He told her where he'd seen the water. The municipality had these fancy maps of the overlay with their 100-year, meant absolutely nothing. My mom built a house there, the only one that wasn't flooded because the old guy knew. And they can remember the old foods and the old roots and the old fruits and things that you can't find anymore. And there's an international movement. Please join it, all of you, called Slow Food International, doing incredible work, identifying heritage and indigenous foods and cultivating them and preserving them before they're gone. They're doing wonderful work in Africa, trying to stop genetically modified farming that Bill Gates is pushing like crazy because he's got shares in Monsanto and Bayer. So they're doing great work. So that's my story. Flat my story is 8.
Lorraine, at the end of the day, I just love the way that you're such a fountain of knowledge and information. And I'm sure there are people who've got a couple of questions. We've got another 10 minutes to go. So if anybody would like to ask Lorraine anything at this stage, please do.
Let me just tell you before, I was very naughty. One of my big shows at Decorex, where we furnished this mock house. 4,000 people came to look at that house at the Sandton Convention Centre. A lot of the stuff I brought into my home and I made sure I used it. So if you look at my house here, the parquet flooring is sealed with vegetable sealant instead of the toxic stuff. The walls are painted with low VOC-free paint is hard to work with, but it's VOC reduced paint, so there's no off-gassing from the paint. So the whole way, if you walk through my house, my library, I've got a beautiful library, actually my son's library, is built, beautiful shelves, they look like walnuts. They're built out of recycled cardboard. They're beautiful, and they're so strong, absolutely stunning. So it's easy to do.
Gosh, that's absolutely amazing. And now to tell us a little bit about your websites as well.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Know where to go, where do they get stuff?
Until I'm just this poppy from Pretoria, and when I was purchasing manager for all these hotels, I had no idea how much power I had until after I left. I didn't notice half the bloody talk about corruption. In those days, I didn't even see it until some detectives arrived and started looking at some of the contracts that I could never move. Sometimes I could not get the executives to accept an alternate supplier. And then this, honestly, trying so hard all those years and all the meetings to make, if they use teak in a hotel, I'd say, who knows where the teak came from? And they wouldn't know. And I say, I bet you it's illegally logged in Zimbabwe, and it's an old growth tree. It's taken hundreds of years to grow, and they used to pat me on my head and say, "Oh, little green queen worried. You worried about the forest, and you worried about the bees. Pearly bees are dying in here." And then, after 15 years, when I did that recycling program, and I sent the report upstairs, we saved Sandton City and Sandton Sun Hotel 75,000 Rand a month, because the waste was getting mixed up. I reduced their waste by 80%. Nobody read my report. So that's when I left. I left 20 years ago. I walked out in an absolute huff. And my son said to me, Mom, I had so many people come into my office with fantastic products, and I couldn't take the risk of using an untested product in all those hotels. And he said, why don't we create an online directory on the internet? And my department, when he was visiting me in my office, my department said, what's the internet? That's how long ago it was and how new it was. And he built the first directory. It was the first one in the world. And it was his idea to call it Hotel Stuff, to share everything I had learned, all the research I'd done on bed linens around the world, and what kind of pillows men liked, what kind of pillows women liked. And then our gauze movie came out. And I thought, hell, they're going to listen now. So I created a second website called Green Stuff. And that backs, everybody's on Hotel Stuff, any product. And it says Hotel Stuff, but everyone uses it now. Architects, government uses it, the mining industry uses it now. And anyone who's got a green product, that product is listed on Green Stuff. If it's the greenest we can find, there's nothing, as I said, 100% agree. It's supposed to be a hobby. We don't charge, it's non-profit. We don't charge for the sales that go through it. I would be a multimillionaire. It's used by 33,000 buyers a month now. And we've got 27,000 opted-in followers. And I've just been approached, use it, it's free, please. And if you know anybody making anything, especially local, let us know. We put them on free of charge. I've got a lovely story of free of charge of a lady making mosquito nets in Greyton with a little hand machine. She had no electricity. So I put my phone number, which I would never do. I put my phone number, I put it on my website with my phone. You know who ordered her mosquito nets? Richard Branson and his housekeeper. How's that?
Gosh.
His lodge is super, super green. And we've just been approached by people who want to turn those two directories into something like a B2B, maybe something like Take a Lot or something. I'm really not interested in that. We didn't do it for the money, but use them. They are very effective, and let us help anybody who's starting up to get a foot in the door. Yeah.
Sure, that is absolutely amazing. And I also know of a lot of neighborhood initiatives, not only in sectional title, they would include sectional title buildings, but there are a lot of neighborhood initiatives around where people are getting tired of municipality and dysfunction of municipality. So they're creating a lot of movement really towards cleaning up their own suburbs. So I think this would also be an exceptionally helpful place to visit, just to see what is happening and how we can all get involved, and then just put the word out in all the neighborhoods, in all the sectional title buildings. I think it's really, really profound what you guys have been doing, and condolences on your son, Lorraine. But I think that this legacy that he's left is so meaningful and has such purpose, and it's obviously also given you a huge boost in terms of the work that you are doing.
Yeah, we almost,
yeah.
you really must contact me if you've got children who you suspect are autistic. It's not a disability. It's not. There's nothing wrong with them. And we were half expecting it because they're very small on the spectrum. There's a very small genius segment. The suicide rate's very high. For some reason, I think they just know too much. I just want to add something quickly before I forget.
Yes.
It's not old age. Hey, it's superior intelligence makes you forget.
Absolutely.
If anybody's in Cape Town, go and see Hotel Verde, Verde. It's near the airport. I think it's one of the greenest hotels in the whole world. They've got wind turbines, solar, photovoltaic. They've got the walls are built with recycled balls of plastic, so you don't need so much mortar. They've got a lift that uses its own energy. Every operating equipment is green, and they've got incredible recycling program. A natural pool, that's another thing. Your pool, stop using chlorine. You can use UV or salt, or turn it natural. You can still swim in it. And they've even got geothermal. I've never seen geothermal. So if you visit the hotel, ask them to take you on a tour. They have special tours, and they'll take you down to where all the equipment is, and they will be completely off the grid very soon. And they use grey water. Another thing you can do in sectional title is start collecting your grey water for your water, your gardens that hopefully don't need a lot of water.
How would you do that?
You just have to siphon off your black water is your toilet water, but everything from your baths and your washing machines, if you're using biodegradable organic cleaning chemicals, obviously, in your dishwasher and stuff, and they just reroute the pipes into a tank and use it for your gardens.
Yeah, there's so much to do, and I must say, I think it's really an incentive for all of us to get going, because time is running out. And Lorraine, what would you say to me if I asked you about the progress that the world is making? Because if you're watching CNN, you're watching Sky, there's all talk, and people go to all these conferences and seminars. I mean, are we moving fast enough with all of this?
No way. And Al Gore's just given another talk on the greenwashing, this new net zero. Net zero is a lot of bullshit. Where you're supposed to get rid of your emissions, and the ones that you can't get rid of, you buy your offset, and you pay somebody to plant trees for you. There's not enough space on the planet for all the trees that people are promising to buy. And Al Gore's just done a major study of how the oil industries are sponsoring, politicians, are sponsoring the oil industry, and the profits being made by people like Shell, who they've got all these promises, things that they're supposed to be doing, and this pushing to go gas. They all obviously want us to go to gas. It's not a solution. It's appalling, absolutely appalling. And I think the movement, we have to just hope we live long enough, because that's the time's running out. The kids are going to change. The children coming up understand, but it'll be too late. By the time they're decision makers, it's going to be too late. It's scary. We're not too badly off here in South Africa, believe it or not. If people say, where should I move to? Where would you say I should go and live? We're not as badly off as a lot of other countries. And join things, join Greenpeace, join the ones that lie on the roads, what they call themselves, the resistance kids. Join them, march with them. It's no good walking around with a banner and singing Kumbaya, Demand change, demand. When you buy something, demand, say, where does this come from? If it's FSC, when I see these beautiful woods in our shop, I say, is this FSC certified? Yes. I said, can I see the certificate? And, they actually don't know where the wood comes from. Some of our biggest furniture makers, they don't actually know. or they pretend they do. They say demand. We have incredible power. We have the power. And I specialize in procurement and supply chain, because what I did. They're waking up. Supply chain managers are waking up to the power they have. You go out to tender to 3 companies. You just say, I'm sorry, you're not getting the business. If you don't meet these criteria that I have set, you're not going to get the business.
Absolutely. And Lorraine, I think it's all about being, the consumer. It's consumer-driven sort of rebellion, and I think it's very important. Nobody understands that if you get together, even a neighborhood or a building or whatever, it just makes it so much easier to unite against something that you want ultimately terminated. So I really appreciate you. You've given me some ideas for today, and I think you must have given a few of our Worcester's ideas as well in terms of the sectional title complexes. And yeah, I'm going to definitely invite you back at some stage. Thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it, Lorraine.
It was lovely. I love being here. Thank you so much. And listen, give me a shout if you want me to do a walkabout with you. I'll come and visit and walk through the property. And I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to your schools, your church, your ladies, your book club, and your big corporates too. The only ones that ever pay me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I really, really a thought leader indeed. Thank you very much, Lorraine.